So, feeling 100% now?
Yeah, getting back there. It's being conscious of what I can and can't do. Particularly, I think it's 2 weeks post incident, and I'm mindful that I don't want to go back through that incident again for my own personal health wise and for the people around me as well. So getting back there, taking things slowly, and trying my hardest not to shout, rant, rave in the dressing rooms. I've been back to training on Monday and last night, and took really a bit of a backward seat, but sometimes you can't help but want to step in and correct something or pass some advice on. I went to the game on Tuesday and sat in the stand with Andy Morrison, which was interesting. I'm getting back there. I just want to probably clear things up. That there was a suspected heart attack, but they ruled that out, so it's not a heart attack. My wife has always wanted me to have a full MOT as such, a health check, and I had that health check, and the heart's perfectly fine. It was the muscles around the heart that were the issue. So it's about making sure that I become more active and do the right things. I believe I live a healthy lifestyle, and it's just kind of living that way now and just moving forward with 3 points every Saturday. It'll keep me happy.
No. You say you're taking a bit of a backward step. Are you going to be back fully on the touchline soon?
Yeah, I'll be back in the dugout tomorrow. We had a really good session last night. The team, we went through a similar period this time last year where we were playing well and the results weren't quite matching the performance, and we've seemed to have replicated that this year, and it's not for the want of trying. The players are working hard but just getting punished at key moments at the present. So with what's happened to me, it was nice that Taff, or Anthony, my assistant, and Ryan, the head coach, could come in and listen to the boys could listen to a different voice, and we all share similar thoughts. So there was 100% implicit trust from me with them. It's done probably the players a world of good, the coaching staff a world of good, and I'll be back in the dugout tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to.
Nice. Yeah. Obviously, before that Kevin Druids game, it was you hadn't won a game in 8 games. What do you think was going wrong in that period?
I think it's contextual. We hadn't won a game in 8, but we'd drawn 4 of those games, and in those 4 games we conceded 4 goals in the last minute. So you're talking fine margins. If you put the performances together and the chances that we had, they're enough to kill the games off. And if you flip it and we score the last minute, the confidence is sky high. So they're just the fine margins that you have in sport. In whatever sport you play, football, rugby, athletics, there's an ebb and a flow to things, and you've got to move with that ebb and that flow, and not be reactive to, but proactive to things. And maybe at times we're a little reactive, and we're getting punished for that. But it's the same team, the same squad of players with some really good additions that were part of a squad that got to Europe last year. I think the obvious is that we have lost a striker, but it infuriates me when people carry on talking about that, because the real bedrock of why we've become a good Welsh Premier League team is the fact that every season after 34 games, and that's what we've played in the Welsh Premier League, we've tended to have 16 clean sheets in 34 games. So every other game we're getting a clean sheet. This year we've had 2 in 16, which is a real concern, and that we've become a little bit clunky or leaky, as you should say. But then I was listening to the radio on Wednesday night. Man United haven't kept a clean sheet in 26, and Liverpool haven't kept a clean sheet in 16. So it's about being clinical at both ends of the pitch. Liverpool, whilst they're not clinical one end, they're hyper clinical at the other end. So we've just got to get that blend to make sure that the forward line, and not just the forward line, everybody finds himself in a goal scoring opportunity is clinical, whether that's a defender off a corner or a set play, or a forward in open play, or a midfield in open play. They've got to be really, really clinical, and as if it's the only chance of the game, and they've got to be calm, cool, and calculated in their approach there. So there's lots of things. I'm just really pleased that we've got a good group of boys. That I've heard some horrendous stories over the years of players when things get tough, that all of a sudden they start dropping out and they can't make training, and they're working on a Saturday at other clubs in the Welsh Premier League. that's not the case here. 28, 29 boys every training session, willing to learn, wanting to learn, youngsters asking more questions. So it tells me that they're hungry to develop and learn and eradicate some of those mistakes that we're making at the moment. And when your confidence is high, those mistakes are not there. But unfortunately for us at the moment, they're there. But it's about what the essence of the role of football, particularly from my perspective, is coaching.
Yeah.
Coach the players, not go out and spend money. We don't have that money, we won't spend the money, so it's about coaching, and that's the enjoyable part for me.
Your son did a great post-match team talk after the game. Is he a potential future player and manager like yourself?
I think my boy absolutely idolises Cardiff Met Football Club. He's 9 years of age. The moment he was born, he was in the culture. I carried him in his car seat when he was a couple of weeks old, and he's lived with that ever since. He's got Cardiff Met stuff all over his bedroom wall, alongside his Swansea stuff and his Liverpool stuff. He's got the kits. He adores the players, Emlyn Lewis, Will Evans. So for him, it's a real. He just loves being around the boys, and it was a real touching bit that Chris Baker, Will Evans, and Emlyn Lewis got him into the dressing room. And my son knows what I'm like, grumpy and moody, particularly when we lose. And the boys got him to replicate me, and it was interesting and comical that he does it. And the problem is now he's trying to calm him down. He thinks he's a Hollywood actor now. He thinks he's going to be the next Brad Pitt, I suppose. But no, he had his little moments, and he's got his own little agendas with sport. He's a fantastic rugby player, fantastic runner, loves his cross country. And he's good at football as well. He's in the academy here, so he'll find his own way in sport. And for me, hopefully, it's rugby.
Rugby? Why not football?
I'm rugby man through and through, me.
Oh, really?
Rugby's my first sport.
Is it?
Yeah, always has been. Being from Caerphilly, from the valleys, you're brought up in Wales. So, hopefully my son can live a dream for me and score a drop goal against Cardiff at the Millennium Stadium for Wales.
Okay. So growing up, was it more rugby for you or football?
Rugby.
Yeah.
I was fortunate to play rugby for Wales up until the end of 16s, as well as football. And I had to make a decision at 16, and I chose the round ball, thankfully, because the size of those guys these days. Rugby in our house is the main sport. We watch football. Come Six Nations, come World Cup, come Autumn Internationals, it's all about the rugby ball.
Fair enough. You mentioned earlier he's got Liverpool stuff on his balls.
Yeah, he's a Liverpool fan, my son, as well as an ardent Swansea fan. He has to be.
I see.
Has to be a Swansea fan. But more of a Liverpool fan. It's my middle daughter Olivia. She's the ardent Swansea fan.
Oh right, okay. Why Liverpool?
I think his peer pressure. His friends all support Liverpool. Maybe they're doing well, so that's why kids support them. When they're not doing so well, you've got to worry about it. He sees these players on the pitch, Mane and all those type of guys, and he's got his little heroes, Salah shirts, etc. So they go with the obvious stuff. I'd rather go for the nice implicit teams like Swansea.
Yeah, fair enough. You played for Swansea, obviously, and you got a nickname, Swanee. Why'd that come about?
There's a lot of staff sat around here. They're going to hear that now. So I got caught cheating on cards on the bus one year, and Dougie Freeman, who's the director of football at Palace, turned around and looked at me and said, "You're swan necking, you are." And the swan necking went to Swanee, and the next thing it was this, and Swanee stuck, and it's stuck ever since. And then obviously the association with Swansea. I haven't got a long neck. I've got a big beak, but not a long neck. So the association is stuck, and I think nearly every student at the university, most members of staff, know me as Swanee and call me Swanee. My kids call me Swanee.
Really?
So it's always stuck, and I suppose that's what I'm known as.
Fair enough. Played for obviously Nottingham Forest, Crystal Palace as well. After the incident, all those clubs all put out statements wishing you the best. That must have been a nice touch.
Yeah, it's I forgot it was like to play football these days. It's been such a long time since I played. But it's when you move from club to club, you don't think that clubs remember you. So it was quite it was very nice to think that clubs are thinking about me. I've already organised, but this was pre what happened to me, to go back to Forest for a day as a guest of the club. So going back there in January, Bristol Rovers have been in touch. Their manager Graham Coughlin, who I know, he said there's some very nice stuff in the press. So I'll be popping over to Rovers in the new year. And it was lovely, along with all the other messages I got from staff members at the university, to students with Get Well card, to people that at times you think are acquaintances in life and in sport, but actually spend their time in sending you a message of get well. So yeah, it was very nice.
Do you still follow those teams? Look out for their results?
Swansea through and through.
Yeah.
I've always been a Swansea fan. I look out. The first thing I do is Swansea's result, and then it's Forest. And then I look for Tranmere Rovers, Bristol City, Bristol Rovers, and Palace. They're the teams I played for. So they're the ones I look for to see how they're doing. It's good to see both Forest and Swansea doing well this year. But yeah, Swansea's the first result I always look for.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, they've had a good start to the season, but sort of.
Yeah, I think it's inevitable the strength and the lack of strength and depth they've got, but their academy is starting to show now its true value for the hard work that's been put in over the years. And I was fortunate to be able to meet Steve Cooper back this summer, or when I was on my pro licence, and a very, very genuine, authentic person, has his own way of doing things. It was quite interesting. You're looking around the room, and there were some big names in the room on the pro licence, but Steve, quite a small individual, but you look at him and he's one of only a few people who've won the World Cup with England under 17, so he's got some real stature about his coaching philosophy, his coaching practice. So he'll be a good manager for Swansea. Like all managers at certain levels, they need quality to work with, but he's also nurturing quality players through. So all his hard work, no doubt, will come to fruition, and I think he's doing a fantastic job considering the lack of resources he probably has at Swansea at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. Former manager Graham Potter, he had a Masters, but you've got a PhD. Does that make you? Yeah.
I don't know. Graham Potter had a master's degree in emotional intelligence, which is interesting. It's again fortunate to have met him and went through his story and asked him some questions. Probably a similar story to myself. As a player at the end of his career, had kind of fallen out of love with the game, and was in League One, League Two when we both retired. And he went off to university, I think to Manchester Met, I think it may have been, or Leeds Beckett.
Leeds, yeah.
Yeah, and obviously I came to Cardiff Met, so we both had that similar trajectory out of the game. And he was coaching the university team, same as myself, and he saw an opportunity to go abroad. That doesn't interest me. No. I'm a home bird. You don't see me very far at Caerphilly. I travel to Cardiff every day. That's about as far as I go. 7 miles back, 7 miles home. So you won't see me going. And I don't have aspirations really. I thoroughly enjoy the job I do as the head coach here at Cardiff Met, and always have and always will. So once the day I finish at Cardiff Met will be the day the whistle, the notepad, the boots all get packed away and back to rugby.
Oh, really? So you don't have any ambitions to go higher up the football pyramid?
Not really. No, I'm an ambitious person, but the insecurities and the lack of patience, should I say, in a professional game scares me.
Yeah.
I think the average manager's lifespan is 13 months. You can't afford for me to be with 3 children and a wife, to be out of a job after 13 months. Not to say I've got a comfortable job here, because I aspire to work hard, and if I become comfortable, I become lazy. So I want to work hard and do other things within the organisation of Cardiff Met. It may not well be the football coach in due course. There'll be other paths to take, but I'm doing some really nice work at the moment with Coach Ed, particularly the WRU. I'm mentor on the WRU level 4, so I'm educating coach educators elsewhere, which really enjoy that challenge. For me, it's not about the actual sport. It's not about football. It's not about rugby. It's about knowledge that we gain from elsewhere to inform what we do as coaches, and I think that's implicit across all sports. And I'm really enjoying the challenge at the moment, working with some excellent young coaches that will one day become regional coaches and possibly coaches of the Welsh national setup at whatever level. So I really enjoy that and look forward to doing it in other sports as well.
Nice. Your PhD, was that in football humour?
It was, again, it's not about the sport. It was about an organisation. It was about a context. It was sports related, and it was humour. It was about how humour is used as an organisational strategy to manage interactions within the workplace. It so happened to be that it was a football club that I looked at. But again, you take the sport out of it, it's more about how individuals interact, whether that's in a sporting sense, an educational sense, in industry, wherever. For me, the interactions are the same, and I want to look at humour as used as a political strategy. So it was interesting. People thought it might be funny. It's far from funny. It was about the messages used, and it was enjoyable to do. I really enjoyed it. And I had 3.5 great years in writing the PhD. I've been finished 4 years now, and I missed it terribly.
Yeah.
So, I really enjoyed doing the PhD. So need to get going on other stuff these days.
Would you recommend other coaches or ex-players, to go into the sort of educational route?
I think, again, each their own. I played at Forest with a few Norwegian players who already had degrees in history and geography.
Oh, yeah.
So the Scandinavians take education really seriously. Was one of my mantras when I came here was I wanted football players to be. And we use the term now here at Cardiff Met off something that I'd said about dual career. So you could be you can have an education, but you can also have a sporting profile. And maybe I was one of the early people to do that. But across all our sports now, we have students who are doing master's degrees and performing at high levels, or PhDs and performing at high levels within the sporting domains as well. The football team, we currently have 4 players doing PhDs and 8 players doing master's degrees.
Yeah.
So it takes away the adage that footballers are daft. I think some football players are daft, and they tend to showcase that on social media and newspapers. That is daft. But there are some very bright individuals. I think you have to be bright to play football. There's lots of information to be processed. There's lots of different angles and ways of seeing the game. And there's no surprise in our football team. The brighter football students are the brighter football players. So I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah. Why did you choose Cardiff Met to study at?
Very good friend of mine grew up together. Ben Evans, Welsh, ex-Welsh Rugby International.
Yeah.
Studied here, and if I hadn't have become a professional football player, I wanted to become a PE teacher.
Okay.
And from living locally and doing sport, I enjoyed sport. I would have probably come to UWIC at 18, but I chose a different career pathway. And then when I retired, me and Ben have always kept in touch through our sport, but also friends, because we kind of live close to each other. And I asked him about Cardiff. Then it was called UWIC, and he said great place to go.
Yeah.
So I retired in the last game of the season in May, and by early June I'd sent an application off to the university. I had a meeting with the then Dean, Dave Cobner, who invited me in, and 2006 in September I arrived as a 30-year-old student, and I've loved every minute of it.
Nice. I have to ask you about Europa League in the summer. That must have been a crazy experience, and going out narrowly on away goals must have been a bit gutting as well.
Yeah, I think we spoke about not playing the occasion, but it was hard because for me that the occasion wasn't just 2 90-minute games against Progress out in Luxembourg and back here in Cardiff. For me it was about playing that game to respect the 10 years beforehand. When I picked up the football club 10 years ago, I've got to be careful when I say this, we were playing in the armpit of football.
Yeah.
It was a horrendous place to be playing, and that's not being disrespectful to the teams that are in that position at the moment. For a university team with the amount of students that were coming through the doors and the quality that it had currently at that time at the university, it was a sad indictment of what the sport was about. And I looked at it and it was just a shambles. I went to a cupboard that I was shown, apparently this is a kit cupboard, and there was a few odd water bottles, a couple of cones, 4 or 5 punctured football in a net. It's like, and you expect your team to be doing well when this is all you've got as a resource. So I said I'll take it on, but it has to be done differently. And if I do something I enjoy, I jump in 2 foot and give 100%, and that's what I did. But it wasn't for me about what we did on the field. I had to get the culture right. Yeah. And that culture was not about a winning mentality on the pitch. It was about a winning mentality off the pitch. For some people, for a lot of people, and this is probably one of my biggest weaknesses as an individual, for me, many people's ceilings are my floor. And what I mean by that, my standards are really high, and I don't think other people's standards, particularly when it comes to football, as high as mine, and I had to change that, not just the players. I had to change it from an organisational perspective. I had to change the director of sports viewpoint and what it looked like, staff members' viewpoints of what football could look like, because I knew that football could be a vehicle of change. And what I mean by change is to change how people perceive it and how you can get value added from playing football.
Yeah.
Because all the football team had back then was what I said is that footballers are dull. So you had these footballers that played at the university with white boots on, spiky hairdos and pretend glass earrings, which that's fine if you want to play football that way. So I stripped away everything. You had to wear black boots.
Yeah.
You had to earn the right to wear white boots or orange boots or green boots. You had to, it was the education came first, and it was about taking it right back to when I became a young player of integrity, being humble, values, beliefs, hard work, graft, and that for me became the bedrock of what the club was about, and still is. Players still pay their memberships.
Yeah.
Players still have to, brush dressing rooms after games. They still have to adhere to the basics, because if you abuse the basics, you're never going to get the shiny stuff as such. So that's what I wanted it to be, and as I grew, the club grew, other people wanted to buy in within the university. The players changed. It wasn't easy. There was a lack of compliance, a lack of understanding, a lack of respect shown us initially. But I wasn't afraid to make mistakes. I wasn't afraid to lose, because I knew ultimately we'd win, and I had a blank canvas. And really, at the time, there's only one person going to sack me, and that was me.
Right.
So that's the way I went about doing it. And what we're seeing now is seeing the last 4 years being in the Welsh Premier League and the continued success of cup finals every year, and this year with Europe, is just the fruition of previous years. So I try not to let my own studies and my own thought process influence what I do, but the only reason, and I compare this to the night sky, the only reason why the stars shine brightly is because the black stuff behind it, and that's us at the moment. The only reason why we shine bright at the moment is because of all the black stuff that we did previously, that take it for granted stuff, and without that, those stars don't shine, and they're shining at the moment very brightly.
Nice.
So that's what Europe was for me. It was a big occasion, but it was a respect and a thank you to what had gone on beforehand, all those individuals that had been part of it but actually weren't part of it on that day.
Yeah.
And it was a fantastic 5-week training camp, a brilliant training camp. I asked the players did they want to go every day, hoping they'd say yes, but really it's a stupid question, because of course they said yes.
Yeah.
And everybody bought into it, everybody enjoyed it, and it was like the professional game, every day doing stuff, doing things, working hard, prepared to work hard, and we got our rewards. Okay, we didn't go through, but the competition embraced us, we embraced them. I'm still, like now, doing interviews based on something that happened back in June. Only this week I spoke to The Builder magazine in Germany. Still wanted to know. They're writing their top 10 highlights of this year, and Cardiff Met is one of them, football. So I've done an interview this week for that. So it tells you the enormity of kind of what we achieved, and I think it's the story is what has brought people's minds. How can a group of students do what they've done? Hard work, buy-in, respect, integrity, humble, and that's the big word for me, humble. We never went seeking interviews, we never went seeking things, people came to us, and that was, we did a Sky Sports interview day, and I interviewed, and then 3 of the players interviewed, and afterwards it was so pleasing, because the reporter on the day came away and shook my hand and said, I've never done an interview with 3 players so articulate, so knowledgeable and so respectful of everything. And he said it was a breath of fresh air, and that for me just summed us up in one. And that for me was as good as winning that game against Progress 2-1, because people remember that. They'll long forget that result, but they'll remember Charlie Corby, Bradley Woolridge, and I think it was Will Fuller's interview. That'll stay for a long time, because that's got recorded and that'll stay. So I take sometimes a little wry smile at that, and as if I told you so. But it took 11 years for people to believe me.
Oh yeah, that was all your morals and integrity drilled
Yeah,
into
it is.
them.
My children are exactly the same. I instill that in them. I work alongside people that I don't always respect them as people, but I respect their role.
Right.
And I want the players to be like that.
Yeah.
You can respect some people, you don't have to like them, but you have to respect them, and that's exactly what my mantra is. And I've got a lot of respect for all the people I work with. You don't have to like them, you have to work alongside them, and it's just making sure you understand that. And that's, the players don't have to like each other, they don't have to like me, but as long as they understand why we're here, why we're doing it. And again, don't need to be too cliched or lots of different quotes, but I remind the players that football didn't choose them.
Right.
They chose football, and because they chose it, they have to respect it.
Yeah.
As long as they do that, then I'm happy, and they'll be happy.
Yeah. Obviously, Europe was such a big high, massive media interest. Was it a challenge bring them back down to earth in any way?
No, I don't think so. I thought the boys were incredible. The maturity they showed in the interviews that they did, it was always mindful of what we'd done. We have it's not a saying, but it's a bit of a strap line for ourselves at the football club. We're always arriving, we've never arrived. And the players believe that. I don't just say it. They don't just say it because it's a word that's been used or they've pinched from somewhere, like you get a slogan written on a wall.
Yeah.
These are their words, and they're always arriving, and I believe they believe that, and I believe that. So it was so easy. They took it in their strides. They respected the opposition, they respected the competition, and I think about bringing them back down to earth. The start of the season, 10 games unbeaten.
Yeah.
If they could have. If they trying to bring them back down to earth, they could have turned up and gone, well, we don't have to try anymore. We've got to why people bow down to us. They didn't. They worked even harder. They had 11 days off after finishing in Europe and came straight back to training.
Yeah.
So they're a humble group, and I know for a fact, without me having to police it, that if anybody dare think they're better than they are, the group itself will look after that. So there's no chance that happens.
Fair enough. Must have been whirlwind kind of month from going to Europe to what happened.
It was, but that's us. That's us in a nutshell. We go from playing in a Nathaniel Cup final against TNS in front of X amount of people and it's live on telly to playing Chichester away on Wednesday.
Yeah.
That's us, and we've always lived with that. From going on a fantastic team bus to that game to going on a 17-seat minibus to the South Coast.
Yeah.
That's what makes it so enjoyable. That's what we do. There's never something. We're always in a state of probably a paradox, really, is that we're doing this 1 minute and then the next one we're down here, but that's because they're humble and they're prepared to do that.
Yeah.
So there's no surprise. There's no surprise.
Why'd you go down to Chichester? Wasn't there FA Cup one?
No, university game on Wednesday.
Oh right, sorry.
So the players will go down there. So it's an open park with a goal, 2 goals, shitty nets, crap dressing rooms, awful referee, dodgy pitch. Picking up dog poo on the pitch before we play.
Nice.
That's it. That's where we started.
Yeah.
Before we got before we played against Bala in the Europa playoff final, I took the players back to the grass pitch where we all started and reminded them this is where it started, and if you want to seek anything for the games, thinking about this, go and have a walk around. Go and smell the grass as such. It's what it feels like. Most of you have played on this pitch. It was interesting because one of the boys looked at me as if I've never played on this, and I realised it was Gitto Williams when I started off here, and Charlie Corsby was in his second year with me. Gitto was only 8.
Yeah.
That's how long we've both been at it. And Gitto was in his first year.
Wow.
So he wouldn't have played on that pitch. He would have been 8 years of age.
Yeah. Wow. That's crazy.
Yes, that's the journey we've been on.
Must have been born 2000.
Young.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Young.
Yeah.
We've been young, so it's really interesting.
Yeah, fair. There's a lot of emotion involved in your coaching style. Do you think?
Emotion. Yeah, me being an emotional wreck, frustrated. Right. I'm a moody sod.
Right.
So it depends on how moody I am. It depends on the emotionality. But sports emotion.
Yeah.
We live on the edge of our seat. How many times do you see people crying on camera in sport, whether it's athletics, whether it's rugby, whether it's football, hockey? It's emotion, that's sports. It's people give their lives for it, and invested in the time they do. Why not? It's not a problem for me.
if I can take you back to that training session where the incident happened, did you remember not feeling great that day, or was it just a sudden thing?
Yeah, again, I have to be very open about this. I've been feeling pains in my chest about 4 or 5 weeks, but as a man thing, you know what I'm saying, and I just got on with it. And that Thursday I was teaching, and I felt a pain in my chest, and I was told by somebody very close to me, sat across from me now, to go and get it checked out. If being stubborn, I don't do that, and felt fine. It was there all day, and then I went to training, and it hit like a thunderbolt.
Really?
So it's one of those things. It was a wake-up call for me. It was a bit of a shock. A bit of a shock for all concerned. But I'm on the mend. I feel better now.
Yeah, that's good. Was it like a blackout moment at all? Or
no, it was really excruciating pain. That if somebody asked me, was it on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 being severe, what was it? I said 12. It was
really?
Just so, and then the pain was ongoing for a while. It was like a vice-like grip on my chest, and just squeezing, and it became harder to breathe. So it was a scare. It was a bit of a reality check, but as I keep saying to my wife, teasing her, you can't have got a bad heart. There's nothing wrong with your heart. You've got it all checked out. Just get on with things. So there's no, and I won't. And I'm not going to labour on this. Let's move on now. Get on with it and just move forward and do my best for the team as best I can.
Yeah. You mentioned that man thing of people saying, "Oh, I'll be all right." Do you reckon that's a big problem? That is obviously a big problem, and I think something on yourself to think about.
Yeah,
to open up a bit more about stuff like that.
I think we all hide a lot of things. We're living in the era of well-being, and people are afraid at times to talk about things. Trying to tell young men, old men, people in general, that we can talk about problems. It's very difficult. Some want to talk, some don't want to talk, some feel embarrassed. I wasn't embarrassed to talk about it. It's just I didn't see it as a problem, but I've learned. Next time, if it is, I'll do something about it. I can react differently, and go and see a specialist, a doctor, or such, to see what it is. But hopefully, it won't be another time.
Yeah. People often talk when an event like that happens about putting things into perspective. Does that put football and
everybody told
like
me
that?
About that.
Yeah.
I need to put it in perspective. Your family comes first, and football comes second. 100% agree.
Yeah.
My family does come first. But I have a second family, which is football.
Yeah.
And they're equally my family are the most important. But it's hard to stop doing something that you kind of enjoy so much and love. But if it was to happen and somebody turned around to me and said, "Look, Christian, you have to give it up," then I have to give it up, because my family were more important. My 3 young kids are important. My wife's important. So it's my time is their time. It's devoted to them, and that's what I have to do.
Yeah. Fair enough. Yeah, that's it. Thanks for your time. Really